Hey everyone, just wanted to give you a quick, well I guess it's not going to be real quick because I'm going to try to go through the whole process, but what I have here is a new product called the Alkatronic. One of the things that I've started noticing and doing a lot of reading about is that alkalinity is the most important element to test when you're trying to get a balanced reef, and I guess I wasn't testing enough, and so started dosing recently and then saw this product. Was looking at the Cage Guardian. This one seemed like a lot more people were happy with, and so I went ahead and jumped on the bandwagon. Got it set up last night. It's been doing pretty well. Um, the main unit is there, and that is a door that's behind the LCD, so I'll open that in a second. This is just a bucket I grabbed. You're supposed to provide waste. There's a tube that comes out, runs into that. And then next to that is the reagent bottle. So you mix up some reagent. They give you, it's about 250 milliliters of concentrated reagent, and then you mix it with 1,000 milliliters. So you get 1,250 milliliters of reagent to use, and it really doesn't use that much. I've done quite a few tests, and it's still pretty much where it started. So if we look through the door, here's what the inside looks like. So there's two, I think there's stepper motor pumps above and then two dosing pumps below. You've got a beaker there. It has a little white stir device in it, and then you've got a pH probe. So what happens is, and it's interesting because we'll look through it once the unit itself tests, which is going to test at 7 o'clock. That's in a couple minutes. Last test was 7.31. Previously I had 7.20, 7.22, 7.22, and then it's been testing every 4 hours. I am dosing, so I think that's why we're seeing the change. But the top pump C is the titration, so it titrates in some of the reagent. Pump A is the tank water, so that pumps in and out tank water. And then pump B is the actual drain pump, and then pump D is an additional pump if you want it to automatically pump alkalinity fluid in to adjust the tank. So should we get started here in a couple minutes? As soon as it starts, we'll watch what's happening with it. The process that it's going to go through is the beaker inside the unit already has water in it because it's trying to keep the pH probe submerged. So what it'll do is it'll purge that first, put it back into the tank because it's just tank water. So the pump is going to run over here. There's a drain. It's going behind the tank. That actually goes right back into the tank. It'll draw from there, and it'll also put it back when it's just tank water. This tube that is running into the bucket is the actual drain. So what happens with that, you can actually put that back into your tank as well. They say that the reagent is not harmful at all. So if you have smaller tanks and you want to use this, you can actually do that. Currently I'm choosing not to, but then you got to watch your salinity level, because it will, if you have an auto top off, it will affect it just because you're topping off water that's being extracted out of the tank. I think it uses about 50 mils per test, so don't quote me on that, but I think that's what it is. And then what happens is it fully drains that beaker into here, and then it's going to fill the beaker back up. Then it's going to start drawing in some titration. You're going to hear it go through the titration. It's not going to draw in titration, it's going to draw in reagent, but then you're going to hear it titrate that reagent. And it'll give you the test results, and it's also going to now purge the beaker into the waste. Then it's going to pull in some tank water, and then it's going to have the the stir device in the beaker, make sure that the tank is cleaned out, and then it will put that water back into the tank, and then after that it's going to pull water back in, so that way your pH probe is still submerged. So again, should be testing here in just a second. We'll come I ended up ordering this from Premium Aquatics. They're out of stock everywhere. The main place they get it from is obviously Coral View. You can also buy the reagents in 4-liter bottles. What's nice about that is that makes 20 liters of reagent. That's going to last you quite a long time. You can set this, so I've got it set currently to record every 4 hours what the DKH is and actually perform the full test. You can set it for any interval you want. I believe down to once every 12 hours. And then I think, oh, here goes the testing. So you can see this tube starts to move, and what it's doing is it's exporting the water that is in the beaker currently back into the tank. So again, that water is just used to make sure that the pH probe is submerged. It also makes sure that the line, by doing this, the line is not going to have air in it. It's going to actually purge it almost all the way in the beaker, and then you're going to see the drain line used, and that way water stays in that line that's going back to the tank. So when it's pulling back in the sample, it makes sure that it has no air in the line, which can affect the testing. So again, previous test was 7.31. This one's going through the purging of the beaker currently. Takes just a little bit. Noise wise, I don't have doors on my tank right now, but really it's not too bad. Apparently version 1 was pretty loud. They released version 2, which had some quieter motors in it, and then version 3 has an extra band, like a rubber gasket behind one of the pumps. There's also an emergency drain that you can hook up in case the unit overflows. I haven't hooked that up yet, but it's a nice addition. I do have it up on a stand, just because I liked it above the reagent and the waste. Also, it leans just a little to the left because that's where the drain in the beaker is. It has to be level or a little leaning left. That way you make sure that it empties the beaker for each test. So now this waste line just kicked on. So it's making sure that the rest of the beaker is fully emptied. So that's a little bit louder of a pump, but that's about the loudest this gets. And I don't know how it's coming across on the video, but it really isn't that loud at all. Okay, so now it has run for its program time and it's made sure that there's nothing in the beaker. Now the beaker's being filled up again from the tank water. Again, this is the Alkatronic. I believe the company's name is Focustronic. They're also making a dosing device. The nice thing about this is you can hook it to a Apex and it will provide the testing results. You can also, when the Dosatronic comes out, you can hook it to that and it can make on-the-fly adjustments to your 4-part. That will have 5 dosing pumps on it. So it's drawing in the water into the actual beaker. I apologize for the long video. I just think it's pretty cool how the whole process works, and I didn't really see one out there that showed this, so I thought I'd throw one together quick. The device is actually smaller than you think, shorter than a 5-gallon bucket. Very nice and compact. It all fits right inside that box there. You do have to go find a container for the reagent and the waste. Other than that, everything comes with it. Once the beaker's full, which should be just a second, now you see the reagent tubing going, so it's pulling in some of the reagent. That doesn't really take that long, but it's pulling it in so it can start doing the titration. The titration's pretty cool. It starts out just like you do when you do your regular test, where you're adding quite a bit of the reagent, and then it backs way off towards the end when it gets closer to what it knows your normal is. So now it is titrating. I don't know if it comes across in the video that well, but it counts down to how much titration it's actually using, or reagent fluid, I guess. And again, very quiet. The loudest pump is the waste pump. My tank stays 7.5. I'm trying to get it up to between 7.5 and 7.8 in that range. I like the lower alkalinity. I just essentially try to match what the salt mix is at. So currently using Red Sea Blue Bucket, thinking about Tropic Marine Pro, but we'll see. You can still hear it's doing quite a bit of titration fluid, and then once this gets below 5, you can see that on display, it will start slowing way down using very short bursts of reagent. Almost there. Now you're going to see it do short bursts of reagent. There it is. It's using less and less. Again, 7.31 was our previous test. This one should be close to that. It's going down further than I thought it would. 7.34. So now it's purging that beaker. Next step, it's actually going to draw in some more water. And then what that's going to do is it's going to allow it to run the magnetic stirrer in the beaker. And then it will purge that water back out into the tank. So it washes out the beaker. And then it's going to draw water back in to make sure that the beaker has water in it, so the probe is not allowed to dry. Again, been having a lot of good luck with this. Very nice products. When I first installed it, had a couple issues just because when you do manual tests and when you're initially getting it, it needs to get all the water out of the system, and it really takes a little bit. It takes about 5 tests to get it to start stabilizing. Let me know if you have any questions.